तो सभी को नमस्ते। तो हम ऑलमोस्ट वी आर कमिंग क्लोजर टू द सुत्त सुत्त की समाप्ति के करीब पहुंच रहे हैं। तो हमने आज जो रहेगा फेज 3 विच इज मोर एक्सीलेंट एंड सबलाइम फ्रूट्स ऑफ रिलेशनशिप। तो झाना से कैसे हम ट्रांजिट करके पन्या की ओर चल रहे हैं। तो हमने शुरू की थी वर्ल्डली हैप्पीनेस शील की बात में। देन वी मूव्ड ऑन टू अदर वर्ल्डली हैप्पीनेस samadhi. So far, we have discussed the Sheel and Samadhi, and today we will discuss greater than other worldly happiness. पन्या की बात होगी, तो आज हम पन्या की बात करेंगे। तो पहला एक हमेशा की तरह एक क्विक रिकैप कर लेते हैं एंड लर्निंग के साथ में, बिकॉज देन दिस विल आल्सो बिकम अ समरी फॉर अस. So we started with first two visible fruits, which is to do with materialistic. The householder hears the Dhamma with faith, listens, contemplates, and then go forth into homelessness. तो ये पहला दो visible fruit was to do with materialistic, और उसका learning था anyone who becomes go forth into homelessness, they gain respect. तो ये पहला two fruits of reclusion. Then moving forward, moral discipline, sense restraint, इंद्रिय संवर, सति संपजन्य एंड संतुष्टि. ये जो चार प्रिलिमिनरी स्टेप्स है, प्री requisites, which what was the learning? Moral discipline is like when you lead a blameless life. अनवज सुख, इंद्रिय संवर, अभ्यासक सुख, इन दोनों को रिटेन करने के लिए द लर्निंग वाज mindfulness is the key. Then contentment is that bhikkhu becomes very free, and simplicity is the contentment. So these four prerequisites, which makes it to six fruit of reclusive as contentment. Then phase 2 में हमने समाधि की बात की थी, other worldly happiness, जहां पर to reach the jhana states, absorption states, one need to abandon the hindrances. So how did we overcome the hindrances? Okay. And what was the learning is to give up or let go so that the mind becomes very calm and tranquil. So that was the learning, which makes it to the seventh fruit of reclusion. And jhana factors is the eighth fruit of reclusion. And the learning was to give a foretaste of nibbana, just closure to the nibbana. तो कल सुनील जी ने बात की थी 6 अभिन्या की. All the 6 abhinyas have 6 separate fruits of reclusion, which makes it to 14 fruits of reclusion. So we are left with 2 more. तो आज day 10, that is, we will continue with the panya aspect, जैसे सूत्र में दिया गया है, which represents the more advanced and sublime fruits of reclusion, जो higher than the sublime and excellent fruit of reclusion, जो है 15th and 16th fruit of reclusion, जो insight knowledge, जो vipassana ज्ञान and destruction of cankers, which is a part of the direct knowledge, जो कल सुनील जी ने शुरू की थी पन्या एस्पेक्ट में. इसके लिए क्या प्री रेक्विजिट है? लाइक वन नीड टू हैव अ वेरी गुड समाधि अटेन थ्रू डीप कॉन्सेंट्रेशन लीडिंग टू द अटेनमेंट ऑफ द झाना, द 4 स्टेजेस की झाना, विच इज द मटीरियल वन. जैसे ही वंस द मेडिटेटर गेन्स अ गुड समाधि, the practitioner is able to penetrate into the nature of reality, insight knowledge या ñāṇadassana. उसके लिए जो है 8 knowledges of अट्ठ ज्ञान कहते हैं. इस सूत्र में भगवान ने पूरी एक कॉम्प्रहेंसिव एक्सपोजिशन दिया हुआ है, कवरिंग ऑल द एक्सॉल्टेड बेनिफिट्स that may be achieved in the life of homelessness. So all the 6 abhinyas also Lord is saying is very important for person who goes forth into homelessness. This higher types of knowledge is available only to those who have mastered the 4 jhanas. Otherwise we also just to remind, jhana में हमने समाधि 3 टाइप्स ऑफ कॉन्सेंट्रेशन की बात की थी. जो अब्जॉर्प्शन समाधि इज द वन विच इज फॉर द जहानास, एंड ऑल्सो खनिक समाधि की बात हुई थी. वन कैन गेट इनटू द इनसाइट नॉलेज थ्रू खनिक समाधि, and following the moral discipline and precepts instead of going through the jhana factors. But इस पे भगवान बोल रहे हैं कि one who have mastered the four jhanas, rather than just focusing on the vipassana jnana from lokya to lokuttara level, supramundane paths, he is giving ki 8 distinct forms of knowledge. The first one is the insight knowledge, vipassana ñāṇadassana, जो आज हम करने वाले हैं. उसमें क्या है, अंडरस्टैंडिंग दी 3 कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स ऑफ एग्जिस्टेंस, अनिच्छ, दुख और अनात्म की बात हो रही है. इसे एक अलग फ्रूट बताया है भगवान ने. दिस इज वेरी क्रूशियल फॉर अंडरस्टैंडिंग एंड ब्रेकिंग थ्रू दी साइकिल ऑफ सफरिंग. देन जो 6 अभिज्ञा जो कल बात हुई थी, this is also an important one. For this to cultivate, one has to have a very deep concentration and also insight knowledge, is very important, which represents the different stages of spiritual progress. और लास्ट अभिज्ञा जो है, द नॉलेज ऑफ द डिस्ट्रक्शन ऑफ कैंकर्स या आसक्त है. ये 8 कॉग्निटिव अचीवमेंट्स कलेक्टेड अंडर द अम्ब्रेला टर्म विद्या, इसे हम क्लियर नॉलेज कह लो या डायरेक्ट नॉलेज, जो भी है. टुगेदर दीज प्रोवाइड अ फुल स्पेक्ट्रम ऑफ एक्सॉल्टेड बेनिफिट्स. सिर्फ भगवान ने एक्सॉल्टेड बेनिफिट्स कहा है, अचीवेबल इन द लाइफ ऑफ होमलेसनेस. तो इस सूत्र में इसको अलग अलग फ्रूट के माध्यम से समझाया है. जैसे कि विपश्यना ज्ञान, नॉलेज एंड विजन is implicitly comprised in the 6th and the 8th knowledge of the destruction of cankers, which is particularly significant. The last destruction of cankers, it marks the attainment of enlightenment and is considered the highest of the 8 factors of higher knowledge, which is the final stage of the teaching, focusing on the knowledge leading to complete eradication of defilements या cankers, resulting in arahantship या liberation. This destruction of cankers is the culmination of the last fruit of recluseship. There is no other fruit excellent or more sublime than this. तो आज हम दोनों की चर्चा करेंगे, विपश्यना ज्ञान एंड डिस्ट्रक्शन ऑफ कैंकर्स. तो ये विपश्यना ज्ञान एंड डिस्ट्रक्शन ऑफ कैंकर्स इज the one today which will actually lead to liberation. So let me read the sutta. Knowledge and vision, when their mind has become immersed in samadhi like this, purified, bright, flawless, rid of corruptions, pliable, workable, steady, and imperturbable, they project it and extend it toward knowledge and vision. They understand. तो मैं इसको पाली में भी पढ़ूंगी. सो एवं समाहिते चित्ते परिशुद्धे परियोदाते अनंघने विगतु पकिलेस्वे मुदुभूते कम्मनीये ठिते आनिजपत्ते ज्ञानदर्शनाय चित्तं अभिनिहरति अभिनिनामेति सो एवं पजानाति. तो क्या कह रहे हैं? Once when the practitioner has attained the very good samadhi, just as jhana samadhi, जो 8 meditative attainments है, यहाँ पर commentary में Bhikkhu Bodhi says these 8 meditative attainments, this is just for reference, we are not getting into the details, which is the 4 material and 4 immaterial, can be achieved in 14 ways. And what are the 14 ways? As per the Vishuddhi Magga is the practice of 10 kasina meditations, जो सर ने हमें समझाया था, and 8 jhana factors, and going forward, reverse, and forward and reverse, and then the jhana going forward, reverse, forward and reverse, then skipping the jhanas, skipping the kasina, then transportation object, factor of both object and factor, definition of object, factor, so on and so forth. इसमें हम घुसेंगे नहीं, even I don't know much about it. These are the 14 ways. When you go in this way, the mind gets very concentrated. This is what it is saying. So when the mind gets very concentrated, so the mind is concentrated by means of the 4 jhana. Purified. How does the mind get purified? It is purified because it is free from the hindrances. Removal of hindrances is a key step in purification. It is bright. It is bright because it comes from overcoming applied thought and other coarse mental factors. It is unblemished. It is unblemished because it is free of ill will and covetousness. It is malleable and wieldy. Basically, the mind becomes very flexible and adaptable. और एक सुत्त भी भगवान ने इसमें रेफरेंस दी है कि माइंड कैसे कॉन्सेंट्रेट होता है। वत्त सुत्त की बात कर रहे हैं कि जैसे कि कोई कपड़ा है, साफ कपड़ा है, अगर उसे डाई करने के लिए देंगे तो वो कपड़े में एकदम क्लियर दिखेगा, प्योर एंड क्लीन इट विल लुक, बिकॉज द क्लॉथ इज वेरी क्लीन। द सेम वे, इफ आवर माइंड, if a mind is not corrupted, then a good destiny is to be expected. This is what the Lord is saying. Then steady and attain to imperturbability. This steadiness is basically result of the refinement and development through the practice of the jhanas. जैसे जैसे jhana factors एक एक करके first factor, second factor जा रहा है, तो then our mind gets very absorbed in the jhanas. Then the imperturbable mind. The mind is imperturbable because it is steady and unmoved by external or internal disturbances. जो सिमली भी दी थी झाना में, स्प्रिंग की सिमली दी थी, और उसके बाद में द मेडिटेटर इन द लास्ट फोर्थ झाना इज सिटिंग विथ कंप्लीटली wrapped with a white cloth from head to feet. There is no external disturbance. This is what it means. Susceptible to direct knowledge, the mind possessing these 8 factors, ये जो concentration, purification, brightness, unblemished, so on, is ready to be directed towards the realization of states that are accessible through direct knowledge. So what is the direct knowledge? Is the insight knowledge. He refers to the direct knowledge, understanding the true nature of phenomena, which is essential for attaining liberation. And this is basically one of the highest level जो हमने अब तक जो भी हम प्रैक्टिस कर रहे थे, जो भगवान ने हमें ये जो 14 फ्रूट्स ऑफ रेक्लूशिप जो बताया था, इज अ प्रिपरेशन. दिस इज द विच इज वर्किंग इन पैरेलल विद द 8-fold नोबल पाथ. तो आज हमारी एक्चुअली समाधि की बात हो रही है. हमने समाधि तक डे बिफोर yesterday we had finished that. So this is now Panya aspect. You look at it either way. Either way, you look at it from the noble eightfold path, or you look at it as a gradual training progress, starting with Sheel, right up to the final goal of Nibbana. So these are the benefits. What are the benefits of preparing for this? So I will continue with the sutta. जैसे मन एकदम purify हो जा रहा है, when the purification of mind is accomplished, and when it gets concentrated, they understand this body of mine is formed. It's made up of the 4 principal states produced by mother and father, built up from rice and porridge, liable to impermanence, to wearing away and erosion, to breaking up and destruction. And this consciousness of mine is attached to it, tied to it. So evam pajanati. आयंखो में कायो रूपी चातु महाभूति को 4 एलिमेंट्स की बात हो रही है. माता पेतिक संभवो ओदन कुम्मासु पचयो अनिच्चु चादन परिमदन विदंसन धम्मो इदंच पन में विज्ञानन एतं चित्तन एत पटिबंधन्ति. ये पूरा मैं पढ़ देती हूँ, then I'll explain it. Suppose there was a beryl gem. Now the Lord is comparing this 4 elements body to a beryl gem that was naturally beautiful and 8-faceted, well worked, transparent, clear and unclouded, endowed with all good qualities, and it was strung with a thread of blue, yellow, red, white or golden brown, and someone with clear eyes were to take it in their hand and check it. This beryl gem is naturally beautiful, 8-faceted, well-worked, transparent, clear, and endowed with all good qualities, and it's strung with a thread of blue. Sayatapi Maharaj Mani Veluriyo Subo Jatima Athangaso Suparikamakato Acho Vipassanno Anavilo Sabbakara Sampanno Tatrasu Suttan Avutan Neelam va Pitam va Lohitam va Odatan va Panangu Sutam va Tamena Chakkuma Puriso Hatte Karitva Pachavekaya Ayang ho mani vedariyo subo jatima athangaso supari kammakato accho vippasanno anavilo. So what does it mean? So in the same way, when the mind has become immersed in samadhi, जो हमने आठ चर्चा की थी, purified, bright, flawless, rid of corruption, so on and so forth, they project it and extend it toward knowledge and vision, Vipassanāñāṇa. This too great king is a fruit of the ascetic life that's apparent in the present life, which is better and finer than the former ones. So, what does it mean by this? This is my body, okay, which is here the beryl gem represents the material body. The thread which is strung to that gem represents the insight knowledge, panya, which runs through and it is associated with the body. And the thread symbolizes the mental factors, जैसे वेदना है, feeling, contact, sanya, formation, sankar, vedana, sanya, and sankar. The meditator reflects, जब वो आंख बंद करके ध्यान कर रहा है साधक, he looks at his body, means he feels that this body is made of four primary elements, which is the earth, water, fire, and air. Contemplates. It arises due to the combination of the four primary elements. हमने कई बार ये चर्चा की है, जैसे कि हम बैठते हैं, ध्यान करते हैं, तो बाहर का एक environment भी होता है, और हमने जो खाना खाया है या whatever, whichever becomes predominant, and it is sustained by the nutriments, आहार जो हम देते हैं अपने शरीर के लिए, and other conditions, which is the cause of sustaining the body, ahar, nutriment, because the material form includes temperature and nutriment, which serves as its own condition. This body, the body is seen as impermanent, anicca, constantly changing and subject to dissolution, arising and passing away, changing from one life to other. So he the जब साधक वो बैठ के देख रहा है, तो it is just like comparing it with the gem analogy, कि हाथ में लेके देखते हैं कि ये धागा पिरोया हुआ है इस हीरे के साथ में, और ये अलग अलग रंग है. वैसे ही वो साधक जब ध्यान कर रहा है, तो वो समझ में आ रहा है कि दिस बॉडी इज कंटिन्यूसली चेंजिंग, originating from father and mother, built up out of rice and gruel, reflects, this is basically the dependent origination, relinking consciousness की बात हो रही है पटिसंधि, reflects on the interdependence of mind and matter, coming into existence, ये बार बार जन्म लेना, repeated birth is दुख. जो मुझे समझ में आया इस सिमिली से, I'm just putting it across. Now it is subject to rubbing and pressing and subject to dissolution and dispersion. What does it mean? It is anointed because body contemplate karte hain, to whichever way you take it, 32 parts of the body, या हम केसा, नका, दंता, हम देखते हैं, it is covered with flesh and skin. There is nothing which is there in this body. It's continuously changing, wear and tear, and eventually breaking down. It's दुखा, क्योंकि हम शरीर जब बीमार होता है, शरीर में तकलीफ होती है, तो हमें पता है कि ये दुख देता है, हमें ये बदल रहा है, तो ये छेदन, वेदन, मर्दन और नाशन योग्य है. It is completely dissolution. It is breaking up. This body is breaking up. So what does it mean? This consciousness is supported by and bound up with the material body, Nam Roop. Without consciousness, the material form Nam Roop cannot exist and vice versa. हमें भावना ने समझाया भी था महानिदान सूत्र में, how mind and matter is interconnected and it is vice versa. The Nam or Roop साथ में, without that it does not exist. And this insight knowledge, Panya, and all the mental factors are interconnected. Just as the thread runs through the beryl gem, the insight knowledge weaves through and informs the understanding of the body and consciousness. I'll just sum up this analogy. As the meditator reflects on the body and consciousness with clarity and wisdom, realizing the impermanence nature, the interdependence of mind and matter, and the nature of suffering, dukh hai, understands that this five aggregates is like a thread which runs through. It's impermanent. It is continuously arising and passing, There is nothing to cling. It has arisen due to certain conditions, and it will pass away. So there is and this consciousness which is going on from one life to another, it's just a stream of consciousness. I don't have to hold on to it. There is no self or person or any creator or soul. This is what it means. And so this is the 15th visible fruit of recluseship. So what is the learning is basically it's impermanence and non-self. This phenomena of transcending all the self nature, all the phenomena, and there is no self or existence here, which is the 15th fruit of recluship. That's more excellent and sublime than the previous one. तो अभी हम आगे बढ़ते हैं. Now, the summary and transition to the destruction of cankers. तो हमने ये डेवलपमेंट ऑफ इंसाइट, जो ये विपश्यना ज्ञान, चीजों को तोड़ तोड़ कर देखना हमने समझा थ्रू आवर ओन practice, through our own experience. In order to sustain this practice, we cultivated the knowledge and vision to see things as they are. This insight is very crucial for us to recognize what is the nature of suffering and what are the conditions which led to it. Now, हमारा यहाँ तक ही नहीं रुकना है, हमें आगे बढ़ना है. So what is it? अनिच्छ दुक्ख अनित्य को समझते हुए, one need to move forward on the path. And what is our path? Primary goal, when we have developed all the eightfold noble path, then we have to move forward to the ultimate goal of liberation. तो हमने अपनी चित्त को शुद्ध की, हमने शील की पालन की, लेकिन हमें अपने रूट से इसको हटाना है. So if the roots are weak, then the meditator won't be able to, practitioner won't be able to reach the final goal. We will be stuck in the Lokya Panya, and we are supposed to move from the Lokya to Lokutra Panya. So Lokya Panya में हमने देखा, we have taken different kinds of objects of meditation, जैसे jhana factors किया था, body contemplation, kasina meditation. All that is good, but it will not liberate us. The final liberation is only when you change the lineage or end the destructions or end of defilements. So that is the 16th fruit of recluship, which is the destruction of cankers or ending of defilements or asav. सारे आसव को क्षय करना है. तो से हम समझेंगे how does we understand what does it exactly means. आसव जो है taints, which can be understood in a way of fermentations, या इसको defilement भी कह लो. Traditionally हम इसे I'll just read it out. The highest fruit of recluseship is the realization of the destruction of cankers, also known as taints, asav. These mental defilements obstruct clarity of mind and contribute to suffering. There are three types of taints. One is the kāma, या sensual pleasure, attachment to the sensory experiences and pleasures. दूसरा है भव, कि becoming, कि मैं हूँ. ये जो हमने ब्रह्मजाल सूत्र में भी पढ़ा था कि I am there and there is a permanent self. So craving for that, or even craving for the higher realm, to be born in the Roop realm or the Arup realm. Avidya asav, taint of ignorance. What is it? Basically not understanding the karma principles, lack of understanding of the four noble truths, which leads to continued ignorance and suffering. तो हमने ये अविद्या आसव, that lack of understanding of four noble truths, या lack of understanding of karma principle, we also revisited when we looked at those 6 teachers का teaching था, जिन्होंने कहा कि precept नहीं follow करेंगे, no problem, there is no merit, everything is okay, and there is a permanent self. So these are all the ignorance where one does not understand the karma principles. So as long as one possesses these taints, they remain bound in samsara. Even a sagadagami, जो 4 है, sotapati, sagadagami, anagami, and arahant. Even a sagadagami and anagami still carry these taints. Only the arahant is free from all taints. So this sutta now, destruction of cankers, describes how following the path can lead to the complete eradication. So what is the path? तो एक बार हम ये थोड़ा समझ लेते हैं, व्हाट डज आसव, जो सब आसव सूत्र में भगवान ने ऐसे 7 ways of explanation is given. Whether you take it in the 7 ways, or you look at the Eightfold Noble Path, or you look at it from the 7 stages of purification, it almost comes to the same thing. This is how I have understood by seeing. So what is it now? Basically, it is Yoniso Manasikara.
Different opinions about this, you see, actually, as I told you, Gita, the very fact that this is given before the 6 abhinyas, to me seems that the commentaries are not really putting it appropriately. It says this is, everyone is said to be higher than the previous one. So accordingly, that if you take that logic, which is consistently going through all that, the insight knowledge which you mentioned, which is almost same thing as full enlightenment, there's no difference. If complete the way you presented, it is full enlightenment. You understood anicca, dukkha, anatta. You understood the fact that of the paticca samutpad has been understood. What more to be done? Then how can this be that the manomaya kaya is greater than that, and then all the 6 abhinyas which Sunil mentioned yesterday, how can they be better than this? So I can understand that the commentaries have, in my opinion, of course it's too tall a claim to make, there's something missing in the commentaries, in the way they have put it. So, and I tend to agree with what Ajahn Sujato has said. I had mentioned to you also that this title of insight of Vipassanāñāṇa has been added in the sixth council, which means in 1957. It was not there originally. And the sutta was only talking about body. It's talking only about body. Element, understanding body as 4 elements. Of course, if you penetrate it fully, then you can get the complete understanding of the body is not me, not mine, isn't it? Now, whether it is confined to that, or whether, since it says the consciousness is tied with the body, whether that is implying penetration to that, it is anybody's guess, really. We can't make sure about it. So the question which Deepthi asked is really significant, because if this knowledge means complete the in-depth understanding of independent origination, and Vijnana-pacchaya Namarupa, Namarupa-pacchaya Vijnanam, and Patisandhi Chitta and all that, that is complete enlightenment. The stages of purification or the jnanas given there are essentially various subdivisions of that. There's not something extra to be done. Change of lineage is not something extra to be done. It happens naturally when the fetters are broken. And it's not that the fetters have to be broken in a, there's some thing will happen that in this case only the one fetter is broken, that is with respect to identity with the body, and subsequently others will be broken. That's not clear. So the commentaries, you have very truthfully presented what the commentaries say. Now it's for us to really reflect on it deeply and see what distinguishes this from the last one. I had mentioned to you that Bhikkhu Bodhi in his comments mentions that insight knowledge is actually a part of destruction of cankers. If you read it, I had mentioned to you, I wrote it down to you yesterday. He mentions it clearly that this is actually a part of in the condensed presentation, that is seen as a part of the last knowledge, which is the correct position, because it is a part of looking at the body and seeing it as made up of dhatu manasikara pabbam of it is basically dhatu manasikara pabbam. Now, some people think that itself will lead to complete enlightenment. Some think that will lead to the state of right view, which means the stream entry or something of that kind. So there's an ambiguity about it, and therefore you very truthfully presented what the commentary says. Now it is for us to discern what it means really. And that's not very crucial in my opinion, because we are not here to do the hair splitting. We know what actually is the full enlightenment, as you will explain when you talk of destruction of cankers. So that's perfectly fine. Whether this is part of it or not, why care, why bother about it? We need to understand what does full enlightenment mean and how that can be interpreted properly.
Thank you, sir.
Question from Deepthi. There is some ambiguity about this term Vipassanāñāṇa in the sutta, because this title has been given in 1957 at the 6th council. It doesn't exist in earlier editions of the Tipitaka. So
that is historically recorded.
Yeah. Ajahn Sujato has mentioned it in his comments on the sutta. He has mentioned. He actually says it has been erroneously added as a title by the Mahasangiti, 6th Mahasangiti, which means it was not there in the earlier editions of the Tipitaka. And the issue, and of course, Bhikkhu Bodhi also mentions in a slightly different manner that actually this should have been, the way it is being interpreted, should have been actually, in many suttas, this is actually part of the destruction of cankers. Because if it is seen in the light in which commentaries mention it, then it is actually a fruit of Sotapatti. Now, fruit of Sotapatti cannot be lower than the fruit of Manomaya, Kaya, and all those things, because there is a progressive increase. Buddha is everywhere mentioning this is better and better than the previous. So this contention has been going on in the commentarial literature also. So that is what I was also mentioning, that when we had discussed it on Sunday, I had mentioned to him that this, in my opinion, this is a explanation of the process of beginning the inquiry. And the main focus to me, it seems, is on the body. That the body is constituted of 4 elements, which was a common knowledge in India at that time, certainly to educated person like Ajatasattu, and that it is created by mother and father, and by food, let's say rice and all, which obviously is provided by mother and father. So the idea was basically to draw his attention to the fact that importance of giving due respect and care to the parents. So that seems to be the kind of introduction to the understanding of body. But if we say that the consciousness is tied to it, and if we interpret it in great detail, then obviously what commentaries say, then it becomes something like a proper investigation into the nature of body and mind, which, as Gita also mentioned, if you recall her 15th fruit, she mentioned impermanence and non-self. Well, if impermanence and non-self are really grasped, then the person is Sotapanna. And there's no way that a Sotapanna can be seen as lower fruit than these various psychic powers. So there is some kind of a contradiction. That's what we were discussing.
सामान्यफल सुत्त 6th संगायन से पहले नहीं था?
नहीं, सुत्त था, बट टाइटल नहीं था.
अच्छा, टाइटल नहीं था.
टाइटल नहीं था.
अच्छा.
This is what Ajahn Sujato mentions clearly. उनकी Sutta Central में mentioned है. He uses a strong word.
राहुल संकर्तन का जो ट्रांसलेशन है 1930s का है, 6th संगायन से 20 साल पहले का ट्रांसलेशन है. उसके अंदर सुत्त तो है.
हाँ, सुत्त तो है. सुत्त है. आप देखिएगा टाइटल है कि नहीं. इट विल बी गुड अगर आप देख के.
फिलहाल तो टाइटल भी है.
मुझे देख के बताइएगा कि उसमें ये विपश्यना ज्ञान टाइटल दिया है क्या इस
हाँ,
सेक्शन?
में 8 दे रखे हैं।
नहीं, इस सेक्शन का टाइटल दिया हुआ है विपश्यना ज्ञान।
सामान्य फल सूत्र नाम तो दिया ही है।
नहीं, नाम तो होगा नेचुरली, आप समझ नहीं रहे मैं क्या कह रहा हूँ।
हाँ,
आठ ज्ञान दिए होंगे, लेकिन क्या इस सेक्शन का टाइटल विपश्यना ज्ञान दिया है? दैट्स व्हाट आई मीन, वो बात हो रही है।
अच्छा, वो मैं देखता हूँ।
विपश्यना शब्द का एक कॉनोटेशन हो गया है, स्पेशली इन म्यांमार, so that therefore creates a difficulty because it's a easily understandable. If it is a Vipassana Jnana really properly done, then as rightly pointed out, it will lead to impermanence understanding, and because the impermanence is mentioned in that length, and understanding of non-self. You take the interaction between Nam and Rupa, then it becomes a Sotapatti Phal. So there's no problem in that being Sotapatti and destruction of cankers being Arhat Phal. There's no difficulty in that. Only difficulty is that Buddha is saying, but they are progressively subtler and better fruits. So Sotapatti Phal cannot be a smaller fruit and creating Manomaya Kaya higher fruit, or having a Iddhi as higher fruit and floating in the air a higher fruit, because all those are attainable by non Buddhist people. They cannot be higher than the Sotapatti Phal, because that is what distinguishes teachings of the Buddha from the other traditions. So there is some contradiction in our understanding. So I don't know, maybe someday it will become clear. That's what I was.
Basically, the section is there, but this title is not there.
Yeah, that's the point. That's what Ajahn Sujato mentions. Because by using that word Vipassana Jnana, it creates a complication. Because it is a technical word with certain connotations.
Right.
Or the 6 abhinyas, sir, should have been after the jhanas and then insight knowledge. It could have made things little easy for us to understand it. क्योंकि ये one subtler than the other as sublime fruits. तो हमने वो एक I mean after all hearing all these questions and talks, वो एक question it arises कि ये कैसे हो गया, because the psychic powers can be achieved even by other people also through other forms of meditation. It is not only to this.
Therefore, our giving a title Vipassana to those 7 or 8 lines is not correct.
So who gives this title when the sutta is
this is
taken
not
in
in the council. This is not what given by the council. This is given by us later. So that title is not correct, and therefore the interpretation of that should be something else. It should be the way I am, for example, mentioning that it is just a understanding of the importance of body being a part of nature. Body is a part of nature, and it has been given to you by your parents. That much of understanding is being given, and that understanding, he says, is a fruit higher than the previous fruit of jhana. So that's the first level of knowledge. This is the first level of knowledge. Then there is second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth level of knowledge. So that if you interpret it in that manner, then it makes sense. If you put the title, then it creates a configuration. That is the point. So that's why Ajahn Sujato has mentioned that this creates a complication.
तो in the same way ये जो सती संपजन्य को सम्मा वायामों में इसमें है सूत्र में, actually सती संपजन्य has to be part of the vipassana actual way of practicing it.
No, that's not a part of Vipassana. Sorry, that's not a part of Vipassana. You must understand. Sati is a part of Samadhi section.
Yeah, but then when we actually do Satipatthana, तो ये सारा जो practice है.
Sati, what are the parts of Samadhi? Please understand, what are the parts of Samadhi? In the Eightfold Path में क्या है? Samadhi में क्या चीजें आती हैं?
Samma Vayamo and Samma Sati.
Vayamo, Samma Sati, Samma Samadhi. These are parts of Samadhi. So Samma Sati, Samma Vayamo means Indriya Samvar. Sammasati means sammasati and sampajanya. And the samadhi means 4 jhanas in this, according to the bulk of the teaching of the Buddha. So that is that way. So it is called preliminary because it leads to samadhi. In that sense, it is preliminary, but you can't label it as a part of Shila. So it's a different thing. But of course, it's just a question of where you draw the line, so it doesn't matter much. But the teaching is very clear. Eightfold Path is very clear. About that, there is no ambiguity. No?
Till just as Samasati, because वो एक मैं वीडियो सुन रही थी अजान ब्रह्माली, right? He was also mentioning कि ये यहाँ पर क्यों डाला हुआ है as a preliminary, because this is Sampajanya ka, there is a other way of understanding and penetrating into the,
Those are all commentarial ways. That is a tragedy, na? We don't distinguish between Buddha's teachings and commentaries, and that creates complication. Buddha never introduces in Sampajanya the concepts of 4 parts and all that. He never talks about it. Buddha talks about Sampajanya as patikante, amikante, sampajanakari hoti, and so on, which means that you are aware not only while sitting but also walking, while activities. That's all. This issue of 4 qualities of Sampajanya have been introduced in the commentaries. And we are taking that to be gospel truth. It's not correct. So Buddha's teaching is absolutely consistent. We make it inconsistent by trying to be more smart than him. That's the problem.
My point was not about those 4 things, stability or...
What else? How can Sampajanya be part of Vipassana or Sammaditthi? It's not. When Eightfold Path is clear, how can we try to say, no, it is a part of the investigation, it's a part of Samadhi, it's a part of Vipassana? Even confused by the word Vipassana, that is the problem. Buddha has nowhere mentioned that Sammasati is part of Vipassana or part of Sammaditthi. No, never. Vipassana means Sammaditthi, okay? So Sammaditthi has Sammaditthi, Sammasankappo, clear. Then 3 Shilas. Then 3 aspects of Samadhi. Sammavayamo, Sammasati, Sammasamadhi. It is always like that, no difference. Problems arise when commentarial things we try to add them. We add them with good intention. We're trying to understand that properly. That's why Ajahn Sumedho will always talk of Sampajanya and Panyas together. He will say either Sati Sampajanya or Sati Panya, which is absolutely correct, because otherwise there will be problems.
Yeah, that is what I was saying. So, ye Sati Sampajanya is Sati and Panya together.
No, it is not.
No?
It is not according to the Buddha's teaching. It is not. We are interpreting it in that manner. That's the point.
Ajahn Sumedho talks about Sati.
Yeah, because he is also following the same tradition. No? He is also saying Sampajanya everybody is interpreting in his own wisdom. Buddha never talks of Sampajanya as a part of wisdom. You show me anywhere. No, never. We have to understand that. No? We have to understand the pristine teaching and the commentarial teaching. Not that they are wrong. They are creating difficulties in categorization of the teaching. That's the problem. That categorization is getting blurred. As you're saying, yeah, this Sampajanya seems to be Panya. Yeah, if you take 4 parts of the commentaries of Vishuddhimagga's interpretation of Sampajanya, it becomes like Panya. And that's what has become prevalent. But Buddha never meant it so. It's very clear. So what we do is we keep our understanding clear as to what Eightfold Path is. And when we say Sampajanya includes this, then we say, okay, this is a part of Panya, finished. That's okay. That also is fine. But let's not mix up the Buddha's teachings in any way. That's the problem. Let's keep the commentaries separate. Use them properly because they help us. But be clear how the Eightfold Path is defined. There's no ambiguity about definition of Eightfold Path. In Eightfold Path, that is Sati, not Sati Sampajanya. And in this, if you take Sampajanya, also defined by Buddha as a part of Kaya Anupassana section. See that. It's defined in a part of Kaya Anupassana section, which means body, looking at the body, seeing what the bodily activities are. So basically saying, be mindful of the bodily activities. That's all. That's the basic meaning. Be mindful of. That's why he says, Abhikante, Patikkante, Sampajanakari hoti.
That is understood, sir. That's very clear. वो
So there is
आया
no
की बात
mention
होती
there.
है।
There is no mention there of trying to be aware of purpose and suitability and gochara and the asamoha. No, there's no mention. He could have mentioned it if he wanted. What prevented him from saying so?
क्लियर था क्योंकि वो तो मैंने भी बोला है कि वो सुत्त में नहीं है, इट इज ओनली इन द कमेंट्री फॉर अस टू अंडरस्टैंड इट इन द डे टू डे लाइफ। अगर हम ये चार चीज को लाइक आई हैड या
ठीक, okay.
In the light of your advice just now, so how should we understand Vipassana then? Shouldn't we understand it as part of the removal of cankers, basically?
Yeah, of course, of course. Vipassana is insight meditation, which is samadhi.
तो मुझे एक वेगली याद है कि आचार्य गोयनका जी ने कहीं पे बोला था और मेरे को लिखा था कि विपश्यना is सतिपट्ठान and सतिपट्ठान is vipassana.
Those are statements in a conventional sense, yeah. Of course.
Okay.
Satipatthana is what? What does Satipatthana include? It includes investigation into body and mind.
So therefore, in a sense, it is vipassana. In a sense.
Yeah, you can say that. See, those are the colloquial languages, just to avoid too much technicality. When you are teaching a newcomer, you don't get into too much technicality about specific issues of this kind. So in the general sense, yeah, it is true that it is Satipatthana. But what does Satipatthana mean? It means huge things.
It's a manual of things.
There's nothing left. Nothing left to remain after Satipatthana. If you say all the sections of it, there's nothing left.
Right.
There's investigation into body, investigation into nature of the body, investigation into the characteristics of the internal body, and the Marnanusati, then there is Vedana.
Including the Eightfold Path.
Everything is included there. In the Satipatthana, everything is included. And bulk of it is investigation. It's all investigation. If you see, even Kaya also is investigation. Even Anapanapabam, in the beginning, you can say it is practice of Samadhi, but eventually it moves to every section moves into investigation and coming to the realization of non-self, moving in that direction of non-self. So there is only sati and there is only knowledge. Jnanamattai, patisatimattai, jnanamattai, but everywhere it is repeated, whether it is with respect to body, with respect to Vedana, with respect to Chitta, with respect to Dhamma, everywhere it is repeated. So everywhere it is tending towards ñāṇadassana, which is the real ñāṇadassana. And you can see that leads to, according to the Buddha, it leads to anagami or even arahantship. So that is the meaning of ñāṇadassana. So here, therefore, there is a complexity. And it's understandable because the interpretation of that can vary from person to person. We don't know exactly what Buddha meant, isn't it?
So I think it makes it clear. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
ये राहुल जी का 1935 का जो एडिशन है उसकी छाया प्रति मेरे पास है जो बनती से मुझे प्राप्त हुई थी, तो उसमें उन्होंने शब्द इस्तेमाल करा ज्ञान दर्शन, विपස්සना ज्ञान नहीं इस्तेमाल किया, लेकिन व्याख्या तो सेम ही है.
That is there in the word, in the sutta में word वही है ना, ñāṇadassana.
ज्ञान दर्शन है, वहाँ विपස්සना ज्ञान नहीं है.
Yeah.
1935 का जो ट्रांसलेशन है उसकी तो छाया प्रति मेरे पास है, वो ये कहती है.
जी जी, यही बात अजान से जाती है.
जो उसका एक्सप्लेनेशन है, जो उसका डिटेल दिया वो सेम है. जो बिट्टू गोदी लिख रहे हैं वो लिख रहे हैं, राहुल वो सेम लिख रहे हैं.
जी.
टॉपिक से डिफरेंट करके।
हमको हर एक को अपना अपना समझ लगानी चाहिए क्या है। अगर वो हमें मालूम है क्या मतलब है तो that doesn't matter whether it is here or there. But if you want to see the whole sutta in a series, then there is a complication. Okay, वो कहते हैं ना this fruit is higher, this fruit is higher than that, this fruit is higher than that, this fruit is higher than that. तो फिर वो फ्रूट कैसे लो हो गया बाकी फ्रूट्स जो फ्रूट्स अवेलेबल हैं to non-Buddhists, to those, let me not use non-Buddhists, but to those who don't have Sammaditthi. Isn't it? So the people who don't have Sammaditthi, they have access to those fruits. And can these be higher than the fruit obtained by Sammaditthi? That is the question we have to answer for ourselves. We can reflect on it and see. Yeah, these are further expansions of these stages of practice. And these are not solid iron proof things that all the stages will occur. One can jump from one to another also. It depends on the depth of penetration and wisdom of the person. Because at various other places there are other things mentioned in the Buddha's teachings, and I'm talking of that primarily. In Buddha's teachings it is mentioned Yatha Bhuta ñāṇadassana leads to nibbida, straight. Which means you have understanding, things are changing, and there's nothing worth holding on to. You're never going to get happiness in abiding happiness in this manner. And so all this is essentially suffering. And when you have that dukkha sanya strong, then nibbida arises. So you skip all those points which are actually included in dukkha sanya. Adinav sanya is a part of dukkha sanya. Bhaya sanya is a part of dukkha sanya.
आपने ये वासा में भी 2022 में you had explained those 10 संज्ञा में आपने ये बात की थी, like how to.
So once you go to nibbida, then in the suttas you are told nibbida leads to dispassion, viraga. You can easily understand that. Once you are disenchanted from the sensory experiences, it will lead to freedom from enchantment of them, which means you will not be passionate towards seeking them. So you become dispassionate. And that dispassion ultimately leads to vimukti. As the nibbida strengthens, as the dispassion strengthens, it leads to liberation, because सारी आसक्तियां खत्म हो जाएंगी. सारी आसक्तियां खत्म होने का मतलब है the root of tanha is removed, and therefore you are fully liberated. So that is another way of putting liberation, tanha khayo.
तो मैं अगर सपोज, सॉरी सर, मैं आपको इंटरप्ट इसलिए कर रही हूँ क्योंकि अगर मैं सती पठान के 4 आयाम को देखती हूँ तो क्या मैं मतलब while practicing sati pathan, this will come as a byproduct. That's what is.
You have to investigate. No? It can't come automatically unless you have very strong panya. You have a reflective mind. It will come. Yes, of course. If you have a reflective mind, which means we don't just keep on mechanically observing Vedana ऊपर जा रही है, नीचे जा रही है, ऊपर जा रही है, नीचे जा रही है, कुछ नहीं होने वाला है. You have to reflect on it. What does it mean?
Sir, आपने जब
what does it mean?
हाँ जी सर.
What does it mean about the nature of body, nature of mind? वो reflection करना पड़ेगा. वो सारी चीजें reflective हैं. जो भय है, आदीनो है, they are all reflective things which one has to reflect, and then you go on. Okay?
Right.
So
हाँ, पंत जी ने भी सुबह शायद बोला था कि 3 steps जो है, it's like a reflection part, not the practice aspect.
That is called practice. यार, इसको practice क्यों नहीं कहते आप लोग? मेरे ये नहीं समझ.
नहीं मतलब मेरा हाँ सर, अब प्रैक्टिस के भी 2 आयाम कर देते हैं सर फिर. नहीं,
कोई 2 आयाम नहीं, एक ही आयाम है. वो प्रैक्टिस है जिससे मेरे होलसम क्वालिटीज बढ़े और अनहोलसम घटे, उसको प्रैक्टिस कहते हैं. बड़ी सामान्य सी बात है. दिस इज प्रैक्टिस, एंड दोस क्वालिटीज एट द रूट लेवल. अनहोलसम क्वालिटीज घटती जा रही हैं. हमारे लेटेंट टेंडेंसीज कह लो, आसव कह लो, क्लेश कह लो, राग द्वेष मोह कह लो, कुछ भी कह लो, they are all unwholesome qualities which lead to suffering. We know it. Isn't it? Having practiced so long, we know that these lead to suffering. So those qualities which lead to suffering, if they are reducing, we are doing the practice. Whether you are thinking, whether you are living, whether we are working in our day-to-day office, everywhere, that is practice. Life is practice.
I was particularly asking in context of the आपने जो सेशंस लिए थे 10 दिन में, तो we started with this only ना, कि हमने आनापान से स्टार्ट किया और हम उदय व्यय का देखने का प्रयास कर रहे थे. I mean, at least I did for few. So
हमने 7 दिन तक हमने समाधि का अभ्यास किया, ताकि चित्त शांत हो जाए और हमको झाना फैक्टर्स का अनुभव होने लगे. तो काफी लोगों को सारे झानिक फैक्टर्स, प्रीति, सुख और वितक्क विचार, प्रीति, सुख, एकाग्रता, 5 फैक्टर अलग अलग लोगों को अलग अलग इंटेंसिटी तक महसूस हुए. तो तब हमें लगा कि चलो ये काम तो हो गया कि हम उपचार समाधि तक तो पहुंच गए. वो अगर हम प्रैक्टिस लंबे समय तक करेंगे तो फर्स्ट जान तक पहुंच जाएंगे, वो अश्योर्ड है. अब हमने सोचा कि उस स्थिति से बाहर निकलने में हम उसी को एंजॉय करने लगेंगे, तो हमको वी शुड गो टू द नेक्स्ट पार्ट ऑफ द कायानुपश्ना, विच इज उदय व्यय देखना एंड सीइंग द developing the insight into the nature of experience, that it is impermanent, that जो शांति महसूस हो रही है इस साधना से, वो भी इम्परमानेंट है, कहीं उसमें ना फंस जाए. और उसकी इम्परमानेंस को देख के काया की इम्परमानेंस, एंड देन वी डिपेंड ऑन हाउ टू व्हाट लेवल वी गो, वी लुक एट इट एज 4 महाभूतास and see in that manner. Or you can do the contemplation of 32 parts or skeleton and whatever you want to do, all those things which are mentioned in the sutta, any of them you can do to develop insight. तो हमारा उद्देश्य था कि भाई हमने अनुभव कर लिया, अब चित्त शांत हो गया, हाँ हो जाता है, ये कंफर्म हो गया एक्सपीरियंस पे. नाउ वी वर्क फॉर 3 more days to develop insight, so that we go with a mind which is equanimous and which is purified at a root level to some extent. Because by jhana, it's only suppressing the defilements. It's not removing them to a great extent. So that is the idea. इसीलिए हर शिविर में कोशिश यही होती है. हाँ, कई बार हम लंबा शिविर करते हैं तो 30 दिन तक we do anapar for 20 days. Then we practice insight for another 20, 30, 40 days. So this way, we try to balance the things. Depending on the requirement, जैसी आवश्यकता हो वैसा करते हैं.
Sir, forgive me for asking this.
हाँ जी.
मैं आपसे माफी चाहती हूँ कि मैं पूछ रही हूँ. मैं जब मतलब इनसाइट से, जैसे देखिए इनसाइट जब मैं बात कर रही हूँ, तो देन आई कम टू व्हाट गीता जी वाज सेइंग कि कैंकर्स को आप देखेंगे. तो इनसाइट मेडिटेशन से आप कैसे समझेंगे? फिर आप ये बताएं, फिर आपकी क्या समझ है जो आप इनसाइट की बात करें? मतलब
इनसाइट का मतलब क्या होता है? इनसाइट का मतलब होता है अंतर्दृष्टि. हम ठीक से देखें इसको, शरीर को ठीक से देखें. ये जैसे मान लीजिए उसके भगवान ने इतने सारे पैराडाइम दिए हैं. हम शरीर को ठीक से देखेंगे, ये मैं नहीं हूं, मेरा नहीं है, मेरी आत्मा नहीं है. दैट इज द की थिंग. अब आप किस तरह से देखेंगे वो आप पे निर्भर करता है. आप अगर 4 महाभूतों के माध्यम से देखते हैं तो यू सी दे आर पार्ट ऑफ द नेचर. 4 elements are part of the nature, and this is what is said in this portion of the sutta. They are made of 4 elements. और ये मेरा नहीं है, क्यों? क्योंकि मेरे माता पिता ने मुझे दिया भैया. It is given by them. और उन्होंने चावल और वो दिया था जिससे वो बड़ा हुआ है, मैंने कुछ नहीं किया है. So that is a way of recognizing this is not mine. First element of an insight is this is not mine. Na etad mam.
Okay.
Then na esom asmi, na meso attati. So here in this sutta, in my understanding, it is being told this body is not yours. It actually belongs to parents and the food. And that's a big knowledge for a person of like Ajatasattu. It's a pretty huge knowledge for him. And for all of us actually. हम तो हमेशा अपने शरीर को अपना ही मानते हैं. So this is called insight. The understanding this body is not mine. अब आप ये किसी भी तरह से अटेन कर लीजिए, किसी भी तरह से आप अटेन कर सकते हैं. आप इस तरह से कर सकते हैं. आप 32 पार्ट्स उसको जो करते हैं 32 पार्ट्स उसके हिसाब से देख सकते हैं, है ना.
ठीक
आप कॉर्प्स की मेडिटेशन कर सकते हैं, सी द डिसइंटीग्रेशन एंड सी इट्स गोइंग टू हैपन. जो हम चांट करते हैं ना, जरा धम्मोमी मरण धम्मोमी. सो दीज आर ऑल्सो इनसाइड कॉन्टेम्पलेशंस. These are contemplations of inside, Vyadi Dhammomi. And then you see, this is the nature of the body. This is the nature of the body to be old, to get decay. The nature of the body to fall ill. Nature of the body to die. I have no control on it. So it's not mine. It's not myself. So this way, these are all contemplative exercise. इसीलिए कहते हैं ना विवेचन करते हैं. हम कहते हैं ना रिफ्लेक्टिव एक्सरसाइज चैंटिंग करें हम. So they are all reflective exercises. They are all part of practice of developing insight. So all these chantings in the chanting book, other than the metta and others, they are reflective chantings, all of them. Whether it is Tayan Gatha, whether it is Aditya Sutta, whether it is the Dhan, those सात धनों की बात आती है. They're all reflective chantings which develop insight. So we should see it in that sense.
जी, thank you sir, thank you very much.